And we are here. We're going to be with you today and tomorrow, of course. What a joy it is to be with all of you. Dan Orlovsky, Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark. Mina's wearing sunglasses because it's really bright out
let
here.
me make an announcement because we need to pause and address this moment. I just want to acknowledge this red outfit that she has on today.
Amazing.
It is exquisite. Okay, we got that out of the way.
Everybody looks really good today, and that's how we like to do it, okay? Let's get right to the game, you guys. There's a lot to get to. You're not, Dan. Mina, finish the sentence. The 49ers win on Sunday if their offense does what?
Gives Christian McCaffrey the football, and he goes crazy. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's the biggest single biggest advantage they have from a matchup perspective. We've been talking about it. The Chiefs' defense, which was not tested on the ground by the Baltimore Ravens inexplicably, has struggled to stop under center zone runs all season long. As we know, San Francisco excels at those. They excel at all kinds of runs, but I'm telling you, if Christian McCaffrey does not go crazy in this game, they will struggle, but I highly suspect he will, and he'll be given the opportunity to do so.
RC, the 49ers win on Sunday if their defense does what?
If their defense can stop Isaiah Pacheco from chopping up grass like a 14-year-old that took this job to buy G-Nikes. When you look at the way Isaiah Pacheco has played late down the stretch in this season, it's led into the play-action game of the Kansas City Chiefs. But he's such a physical force in the run, and we've seen whether it's Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery have success in the last 2 weeks against the San Francisco defense. Pacheco is a key to this game on both sides.
Dan, the Chiefs win on Sunday if their offense does what?
Yeah, scores touchdowns in the red zone. They're going against a football team in San Francisco whose offense is the #1 red zone offense in all of football, and their defense, as great as Kansas City's is not a lockdown defense in the red zone. So Patrick Mahomes, I expect them to be able to go up and down the field on a consistent basis, but down in the red zone, is it going to be Rashee Rice? Is it going to be Travis Kelce? Field goals will not win them this game. They will have to be phenomenal in the red zone.
Marcus, the Chiefs win if their defense does what?
Guys, this is not 2 years ago. This is not a year ago, but it sounds the same. Interior pressure in Brock Purdy's face. One, because of the length of the D tackle. Obviously, Chris Jones, we've seen him have some batted balls. This is a staple for the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line when they get to these premier games. But more importantly, getting him off his spot and being disciplined on edges. If you look at Brock Purdy, he likes to operate on those crossers and those digs. And if you can get hands in his face with long guys with length, you can affect his sight. But not only that, maybe get some balls batted on critical third downs.
Yeah, when you think about what this Chiefs defense is going to do, they're going to be hunting, and big game Spags is going to be a big part of that. We'll talk about that more for the rest of the week. Let's get Jeff Darlington in here. He's actually on the red carpet ahead of the NFL honors tonight. But Jeff, you've been with the Chiefs all week long, and you have been with them today as well. What are they saying about how practices are going now that they've started here in Vegas?
Well, Laura, I know they let me out here to the red carpet. We're away from the Chiefs facility, about 40 minutes away. But the energy out there was, by the way, very good as well. It's not just the red carpet energy. I was talking to some guys today about the chippiness in practice. Guys saying that the intensity on Wednesday, which is one of the most important practices ahead of the Super Bowl, was very high. And they expected today to be just as much. And you can hear from Travis Kelce right here talking about that intensity.
A lot of energy at practices. Everybody's focused and dialed in on their job at hand. And I'm not even going to lie, things got a little chippy. I'm not going to say between who, but the offense and defensive lines are trying to get their work in. They're trying to make sure everybody's ready for the game. And, I mean, it just got me fired up yesterday.
Everybody is ready for this game. Everybody's juiced up, exciting. So we got to tone the chippiness down a little bit, you know, into Sunday. And I like the fire. I like the fire in everyone else.
I mean, that is not something you hear very often. Chris Jones saying that we better have to tone down the intensity on Sunday. That's how intense these practices have been. Quick injury update for you. Guard Joe Thuney. I know we've talked about him this week. It continues to sound like the strength in his pec will not make him available for Sunday's game, but I can tell you, talking to some of his teammates, he is still holding out some hope. So before you completely rule him out, keep in mind that Thuney is still trying to find a way to play in this game, Laura.
Yeah, that's surprising, Jeff. I think we kind of had dismissed the opportunity of him even playing at all, so we'll keep an eye on it either way. And you have fun on that deserted red carpet. It won't be like that later, okay? During the regular season, the Chiefs blitzed a defensive back at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. We think this is a huge part of the game, and recorded the most sacks of any team on those plays. Kansas City has continued that strategy in the playoffs, sending DB blitzes, 23 of them in 3 games. That includes 10 in the AFC Championship, with Lamar Jackson going 2 for 8 against the DB blitzes. This is really specific, RC, but why are the Chiefs blitz packages, especially with the DB blitzes, so effective?
Yeah, well, I think it's about design, disguise, and details, and that all leads to dominance. When you look at what they're able to do, they come at you in so many different ways from the second level. Here, you're going to see early on in the playoffs, you're going to get Trent McDuffie off of the slot. You're also going to bring Drew Tranquill, but you're going to watch Bolton in the man-to-man coverage. He's out, and now the line has to slide. Teron Armstead, he drops down. Karlaftis is free. You're also going to see that Trent McDuffie gets late pressure because he's able to disguise and be that second-level blitzer. Here, you're going to see Justin Reed add, but he stays and he waits on top of the slot, Isaiah Likely. And you're also going to get a cross dog or a stunt by Karlaftis, and Justin Reed gets a one-on-one because they blitz 6. They're in 0 man-to-man coverage on the back end. Now, what does that do? It gets you antsy, always paying attention to the defensive back. Here you're going to see Justin Reed work in tandem with Nick Bolton. He drops out. Now we have not necessarily a simulated pressure, but a zone pressure where they have 2 underneath hook droppers that can play with vision on the quarterback. There's a free rusher to Josh Allen. I think Steve Spagnuolo does a great job of showing you the same look and being able to vary the blitz off of it.
My head hurt looking at that.
Real quick before Mina hops in, I think the overwhelming thing on that tape, which was sick, by the way, RC, is it's not just about confusing quarterbacks. Sometimes we talk about that too much. It's like, hey, we want to confuse the center. We want to confuse the back. We want to confuse who's hot and who's not. So it's going to be more than just Brock Purdy seeing it. It's got to be everybody in the offense doing their job.
I love, that was an amazing tape, and I love the importance, or stressing the importance of the DB blitzes in particular in this game for a few reasons. San Francisco 49ers play with ultra-condensed formations, so the cornerbacks have a quicker path to the quarterback. That's notable. The other thing is you mentioned that in the last one that sometimes they'll play zone behind these DB blitzes, which is actually pretty unusual. The Chiefs play a lot more zone when they blitz generally. That split safety. They're trying to get to split safety more than anyone else in the NFL. So what is interesting is Brock Purdy shredded man blitzes all year long versus zone blitzes 19th in QBR.
Wow.
And one more thing, and you kind of hinted at this too. If they do this early on, if they send, whether it's McDuffie, they just got to threaten it later with the simulated pressures, which has, of course, been a theme all season. You just got to make Brock Purdy think for a split second he might come, and that will affect him over the course of the entire game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's built to build chaos thought process-wise and also to slow you down. We used to talk about it all the time in Dallas. We would use DeMarcus Ware to just create an extra hitch in the quarterback by his movement late or early. The other thing is this, too. This is why it was so perplexing watching the Detroit Lions against this watching Brock Purdy against the Lions when they were bringing the edge pressure. It's almost like at times they didn't have answers for it outside of his athleticism, which is very unusual for Kyle Shanahan not to dial up either a screen with Christian McCaffrey or to figure out how to get the ball out of Debo's hand, even though Debo was removed from that game. Here's the thing, too. When you look at how they simulate pressures from a Kansas City Chiefs standpoint, they will blitz anybody. Think about all of the teams. We can identify, like, throughout the course of a season, who this guy will be. You think about Mike Hilton from the Bengals. You think about Kyle Hamilton. When you start talking about they will bring Reed, they'll bring Trent McDuffie, they'll use Bolton, they'll use Gay in those situations, which keeps you off balance as well.
Yeah, another layer of that condensed split stuff with San Francisco is not only are the corners closer, it's easier for them to disguise because you don't know if the safety's going over the top or wider on purpose or not. I think to RC's tape, the most important down for San Francisco in this or in this game is first down. They got to be great on first down because a lot of those pressures come in those second and long or third and long situations. This is the #1 offense in the NFL on first down. They average 6.8 yards per play on first down. McCaffrey gets 77 yards a game on first down alone. So if they can be really good on first down, I think they minimize some of the pressures that they're going to see.
Guys, Brock Purdy ranks 4th in the NFL in QBR against DB blitzes this season. You brought up the numbers against the zone, but either way, there are ways they can have advantages. Today, we're going to use everybody here to build out our bet. All right, so let's parlay it together. RC, you first. Over under 90.5 rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey.
You know what? I'm going to go over. And if you listen to what Mina spoke about earlier, you know Kyle Shanahan's going to understand that sticking with the run in Christian McCaffrey, especially on early downs, is important. And when you watched him run the football, especially of late, I've been extremely impressed with the physicality in which he's played with at the second level. He's the best player on this offense, and Kyle Shanahan's going to understand in order to win, he has to have a big day. And if you're going to do well against Kansas City, running the ball should be first.
Let's go to the opposing back. Marcus, over under 70.5 yards on the ground for Isaiah Pacheco and the Chiefs.
I'm going over because when you see a right hook connect to somebody's chin a lot, you probably should throw one again. And Detroit threw a lot of them and had a tremendous amount of success. So Pacheco on the edges. Look, we've seen San Francisco defense struggle with trying to defend pin pulls, getting off tackle runs. Pacheco is a speed guy as well as picking up grass like you like to talk about. RC, I expect him to be a big part of what they do offensively, especially attacking the edges of the 49ers.
Here's the tight end part of the bet, okay? Let's talk tight ends. Dan, over under 7.5 receptions for Travis Kelce.
Well, we're the best big game show going. This is the best game, big game tight end going. And this is obviously the biggest game of the year. 7.5 catches. I mean, he's going to have 4 or 5 catches in this game strictly off an RPO where Patrick will just catch in and throw it out to him. So I think he's the pivotal part of their offense, specifically down in the red zone. I say over.
Mina, over under 47.5 receiving yards for George Kittle.
Is there an NFL Live curse for overs? Because I'm on the 4th over, which means it's going to be a low-scoring game, right? No, here's why I'm over. I do expect the Chiefs to blitz a lot, and when the San Francisco 49ers are blitzed, George Kittle is their primary answer. In fact, he has the 2nd most yards per target in the NFL when his quarterback is blitzed. I think L'Jarius Sneed will probably take out Brandon Ayuk a fair amount in this game, so I would expect George Kittle to be their primary vertical option.
All right, look at you guys just hammering the over. We got big game Dan, big game Marcus, big game Mina, and big game RC.
Because we in Vegas.
Again, Sal, you got a chance to talk to Christian McCaffrey ahead of this huge game. What's he saying about it?
All about the red zone, Laura. All quiet right now at the team hotel. The practice facility is about 30 minutes away from here, and that's where the 49ers are practicing. Very aggressive practice today, their #1 practice of the week. And Christian McCaffrey said, point of emphasis, bottom line, is the red zone. Listen to this.
You never know what the defense is going to bring you. So, you know, obviously having balance is always good. But it's also just, you know, sometimes you need to dictate the tempo. So whether, you know, you're having a lot of success in the run game and you stick with it, or the pass game and you stick with it, and a lot of times you're reacting to what the defense is doing as well. So just to be able to be proactive and keep it one play at a time, obviously you can't mess up against this team.
And you got to score touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody knows that. The Niners had the #1 red zone offense in the National Football League, and Christian McCaffrey had 21 touchdowns in the red zone, most in the National Football League. And Thursday is also point of emphasis. Big day for the San Francisco 49ers every week. Ball security and takeaway Thursday. And that's what they had a team meeting about this morning. Nick Sorensen, defensive assistant in charge of defensive passing game. He led the meeting today. I was told it was intense and it was detailed, all about taking the ball away and making sure you hold on to the football. Taking away why? Well, Patrick Mahomes II, 6 straight postseason games, no interceptions. All of them wins. You got to take the ball from the Kansas City Chiefs. You can have a chance to win this game, Laura.
Takeaway Thursday. We love the alliteration. Thanks to Sal Paolantonio being with us here. And let's talk a little 21 personnel, guys. Only the Dolphins used 21 personnel more during the regular season than the 49ers. And San Francisco excelled on those plays, averaging 9.5 yards per pass attempt and more than 5 yards per rush. That's huge. The Chiefs defense didn't see 21 personnel quite as much, but allowed more than 6 yards per rush against it, the 3rd worst mark in the league. That's a matchup to circle and watch. Dan, why is San Francisco Francisco is so effective out of 21.
Yeah, it's in many ways, Kyle Juszczyk. The game will come down to this, in my opinion. Like how Kansas City's defense handles this San Francisco 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end. One, because they can present it looking like a traditional 21, like they do so often now. There's that 2 backs where you have McCaffrey in the backfield, Kittle up top, and that now looks like a 21 run where the wide receiver, we talk about these guys all the time, they're great at the block, they go outside in, Juszczyk and Kittle lead up. This is a traditional 21 toss to the perimeter 1 play. Well, then I could line up in that 21 personnel again. But this time I take Juszczyk and I put him next to George Kittle as a tight end, and we have our slot down at the bottom, wide receivers, we go ball fake, and we can have both Kittle and Juszczyk in protection. You're faking the run, and then there's that gashing throw that Marcus talked about before. And so 21 as 21. 21 kind of looks at 12. Well, now 21 I could present it as almost 11, which would be 1 back, 1 tight end. Juszczyk up top, Debo motions over. Now it's a bunch. This is traditionally like what looks like an 11 personnel passing formation. Yeah. This is the zone run scheme that they've gotten back to where you condense, and there's that beautiful cutback by Christian McCaffrey. Here's the most fascinating aspect of it with me. 21, I expect Kansas City to play base defense, right? Put 3 linebackers on the field. That means McDuffie goes and plays the outside corner. If they get in 21 and they play in non-21 traditional formations, right? A little bit more 11 spread, 2 people on each side, maybe empty. Who covers McCaffrey? The game will come down to that.
Yeah. It's the most versatile personnel group in all of the NFL. And Dan showed you that even the first toss, which ended up looking like a 21 run, actually started in a 12 formation with Juszczyk as the U. And I think that Kyle Shanahan does an amazing job of utilizing all of his pieces, but it's also the pieces that he's acquired, right? The Juszczyks, the Kittles, the Debo Samuels, the Christian McCaffreys. All these guys can move into multiple positions, which gives you different formations, which makes it incredibly difficult to match defensively. And what Kyle Shanahan has been amazing at doing is diagnosing who you have on the field from a defensive personnel standpoint and getting in the best formation and play to attack that.
This is why I have a crush on this show, because we stuff like this just come out of the blue, and it takes me back to when we were in film rooms when we were playing. I'm not going to speak to it from a matchup. Both of you guys have covered that. I'm going to talk about it from a defensive line perspective. Formation diversity is our worst nightmare as a defensive line, because we never can decide whether it's run pass. And that's what 21 does to you as a defensive line. We used to have these conversations all the time. It was what DeMarcus Ware hated the most. Overhang tight end for every other team in the league most of the time meant that they were going to run the football. In this particular offense, the Shanahan offense, we used to play his dad Mike, they would throw it over your head, and you'd be like, how the hell this dude end up wide open? Well, your linebackers are playing run. Their first step was forward, and the defensive line is slow to get to the quarterback because you have to think about all of these plays that come. I'm going to take people real quick into a game plan situation. We get a worksheet for the week, and we get personnel, and we get these plays come out of this personnel. These are the tendencies. These are some clues that you can look for. It's 21, 22, 13. Every time 21 personnel showed up on the call sheet for the week, it was 50 plays labeled under 21 personnel. Everybody else had like 8 or 9 plays that they would run out of
I'll tell you about one of those tendencies since second half of the season through the playoffs. Debo Samuel gets the bulk of their targets when they're 21 personnel, twice as many targets as George Kittle, for example, which I was actually kind of surprised by. I thought it would be McCaffrey potentially. Nope, it has been overwhelmingly Debo. And that cuts to the point you made, the question about how the Chiefs will play this. I assumed it would be base, said they play a lot of base generally, but when I went back and looked at the 2022 game, Spagnuolo played predominantly nickel against their 21.
Problem, don't you think?
Well, they're going to run on you if you play nickel. So the question is, you have to decide, do we want to play, maybe not entirely nickel, but more nickel so that we can get McDuffie the matchup we want, essentially getting him closer to the ball? But then you make a sacrifice against the run, or flip it, do you prioritize stopping the run?
Can I ask you a question?
I'm about to ask RC something too.
If they play nickel versus it, could you see them putting McDuffie at safety and dropping Reed down?
No, but here's what I would do. I would play nickel against it, right? Because nickel now has McDuffie in the run, and you can insert Justin Reed into the run as well, because somebody does have to cover 23. Somebody does have to cover 19. Somebody does have to cover 85, and they're physical enough in the run game.
Run defender.
I
That's why I lean towards this as well.
was finna ask him, is Justin Reed going to have to be the free hitter?
Yeah.
Because that's what you try to create when you get 21 personnel in runs. For us, that used to be Roy Williams. That's a damn linebacker playing the run. Justin Reed was really good, too, against Baltimore. He was a really good run.
Like their base defense has been great shakes against
Exactly.
runs.
The game will come down to that.
I can't stay
Hey, Justin Reed, you better step up.